Welcome to another episode of Stangani with the Sound Sangoma. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use a compressor effectively to get your sound, to control those dynamics and to deal with transients. With a lot of modern music, it's very, very important to kind of like understand what the purpose of a compressor is. So just a little bit something about compressors, just like EQs, only use it when you need it. If you don't need it, don't use it. I don't use a lot of compression depending on the music that I'm mixing. Sometimes I get a lot of beats and they're already being compressed. The instruments are already compressed, so there's not a lot of me. There's not a lot of room for me to do anything, or I wouldn't even want to do anything because it's already sounding good from the producer. But depending on what I want to do, if I want to change the dynamic range, I want to change how it sounds a little bit, then I'll go to my compressor. Right. So if you're not familiar with a compressor, it's something that looks like this. So let me just run the music a little bit so you can see what's going on. So you're just gonna see stuff moving. Let me go find the high energy plays. Let's play it from here. So as you can hear, very, very banging drums. It's that African feel. Cool. So just to, with the attack is how quickly you want your compressor to kind of like attack. So if you listen to this, so if I go and I play around with this, so I'm gonna go exaggerate this a little bit. I have a lot of that going on, and then I'm gonna play around with my you hear what's going on there, so I'll probably go somewhere there. And then my release, how quickly is the compressor gonna release? If you want it to hold for long, maybe somewhere there if you want compressor. And then you have your threshold, which is basically when do you want your compressor to start kicking. And then you have your gain. If, for example, I'm losing like a dB and a half of gain, can do that. But one of the things that I've realized that are effective for me is if I'm going into a compressor and out of the compressor at the same level, when I bypass and come in, I don't hear any level differences, but I hear sonic differences or dynamic range differences. That's what I'm going for when I use a compressor. So I don't use it for level. I don't want it to fool me into thinking that so for example, most of the time people will stick a compressor there and then it will give them level, and then they will think, they see what I mean. So there's not really a jump, but I can hear sonically that it's changing. So for example, if I pull out a snare, just to, on a snare, the same will apply. If I go on dynamics, pull out the different compressors so I can show you how different compressors are. Still the same settings, still the same, it's just different how the layout is. Still got your threshold, still got your threshold there, depending on what you want to do. So if I go, for example, from there I can hear I'm already doing a lot of compression on the snare. I might not want that. Pull that back and then I can have my makeup gain. Pull that down. So just bring the body a little bit. Want the transients to come through, so I'm gonna, put up my attack there a little bit, so it doesn't really kill my transients. Unless if I go to my 808 just to show you something fancy. For example, for those who know C6. So this is last week I did a video on EQ. This is an EQ and a compressor in one. The multiband is in multiband, so I can kind of like choose where I wanna compress. So for example, if I go to that range, I can choose to deal with this range differently. So, 'cause, 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 ' can build your sound. For example, on vocals, maybe you have a female vocals, and then the female vocals are very, very high endy, or the 3K area is very, very harsh. Instead of just you cutting it out and EQing it, you can kind of like just control when, if it goes louder, then it dips more, if it's not louder, so that you can have that control and consistent when it comes to your vocal. Because sometimes an EQ, because it's very, very static at certain parts of the vocal, maybe you don't want that EQ to be like that. So if you that person, you can automate your EQ so that it works differently when in sections. For example, when it goes to the chorus, maybe you want to bring back some of that high frequency. When it goes to the verses, you want to take them out. Depending on how you work, you can automate, or you can just pull a multiband and then deal with the multiband. Transients control, just for you to control your transients, and then you can use it, for example, for your dynamic range, if you want to deal with your dynamic range, and then you can use it as glue. So one of the places where I use it as glue is basically if I'm using it on the bass, on my sub master. So this is my favorite. So if you look at it, I'm not actually doing much, just picking the needle, not a lot of threshold, very, very slow attack, 2:1 ratio. Pull this down a little bit. Most of the time I like going to the automatic, so it's not doing a lot. So if you listen to it, feels like everything just becomes one. It just makes everything become one and just sticks everything together. I do a lot of this with most of the things. Vocals, I do it on vocals, hip-hop vocals, even pop vocals sometimes. I do it on guitars. It just brings the body up, so it kind of like gives me a character. So with compressors, like I said, only pull it out when you need to use it. Understand what you want it to do. Don't use compressors for level. Start understanding dynamics and using dynamics in your mixes. If your mix is dynamic and has a dynamic range, it's kind of like exciting to the ear. Thank you very much again for watching. Please make sure that you subscribe, leave your comments if you have anything that you want me to do or anything that you want me to demonstrate. Hit the notification bell to know when we're gonna release videos. We're releasing 2 videos each and every week, a how-to video and a heal the mix video. For watching. Let's go.